For more, we're joined by Barbara Slavin, the director of the Atlantic Council's Future of Iran initiative. She's in our Washington bureau this morning. Barbara, good morning.
Good morning.
The president says he did this to prevent war. Rand Paul says he believes we are now going to go to war. Who's right?
Well, I'm afraid Rand Paul may have the better argument here, but what I see are winners and losers. Winners from this are ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Sunni fundamentalists.
One question now: how may Iran respond to today's American military strike? And how well prepared is the U.S. military to withstand Iran's retaliation? Nick Schifrin is back with more on that.
We now get two views from people who watch or have dealt with Iran over the years. Retired Admiral Michael Mullen was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 2007 to 2011, at a time when the U.S. significantly increased the number of troops in Iraq and the war in Iraq intensified. And here with me is Karim Sadjapur, an Iran expert at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, a global bipartisan think tank. Welcome back to you both to the NewsHour. Thank you very much. Karim Sadjapur, let me start with you. How irreplaceable is Qasem Soleimani?
Well, Nick, Iran is the only country in the world which is simultaneously fighting three proxy wars with the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. And Soleimani has been managing these proxy wars for the last 2 decades.
Joining us now for the interview is Susan Rice, ambassador to the UN and then national security advisor in the Obama administration. She's the author of Tough Love, My Story of the Things Worth Fighting For. Ambassador Rice, thanks so much for being with us. I appreciate the time tonight.
Good to be with you, Rachel.
There's been a bunch of reporting over a period of years that the U.S. had previously assessed that it could be more dangerous to kill Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Quds Force in Iran, than to allow him to live, even when U.S. forces did potentially have a shot at him. I just wanted to ask, there's a lot of discussion about that reporting now that this airstrike has happened and that Soleimani is dead. What can you tell us in a non-classified setting here about that reporting, whether it's accurate, and is there any reason that we should think that that calculation somehow changed before this airstrike?
Well, to my knowledge, Rachel, and certainly while I was national security advisor, the Obama administration was not presented with an opportunity by our intelligence community or by the U.S. military to strike Qasem Soleimani. Had we been presented with such an opportunity, what we would have done is weighed very carefully and very deliberately the risks versus the potential rewards. We would have assessed all of the ways in which this could enhance our security and degrade our security. And I think, judging from what I know and from what we're likely to see, I think that
Qasem Soleimani, an Iranian general, was killed in a U.S. airstrike near the Baghdad International Airport on January 3rd. But who was Soleimani, and why was he targeted by the U.S.? The 62-year-old Major General was the head of the Quds Force of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, a unit responsible for foreign military operations. Soleimani was considered the architect behind several proxy wars across the Middle East. The U.S. designated the Revolutionary Guard a foreign terrorist organization in 2019 as part of a campaign to pressure Iran to negotiate on its ballistic missile program and nuclear policy. In response, Soleimani had said any negotiation with the U.S. would be a complete surrender. The Pentagon says the airstrike that killed Soleimani will deter future attacks orchestrated by Iran. There were many times in the past when Soleimani was rumored to be dead. Those incidents include a 2006 plane crash that killed several military officials in northwestern Iran, a 2012 bombing in Damascus, Syria that killed top aides of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, and during fighting near Aleppo in Syria in 2015. But this time, it's not a rumor. Soleimani's death has been confirmed by Iran. After Iran's Islamic Revolution, Soleimani joined the Revolutionary Guard. And not long after the revolution, he played a part in putting down Kurdish unrest in the northwest of Iran. He inspired many Iranian citizens to join the Quds Force and would get emotional around troops, even embracing them before sending them to fight. Soleimani was viewed as a celebrity at home, but a threat in the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia.
The U.S. airstrike has created an earthquake that will have reverberations around the globe. Jason Brodsky, policy director of the advocacy group United Nations Against Nuclear Iran, told VOA.
Qasem Soleimani was not just a symbol, he also had substantive power and authority in the Islamic Republic. His symbolism came from being dubbed a living martyr by Iran's supreme leader, and the substance of his power really stemmed from his authority to punch way above his weight in Tehran. He wasn't just commanding Iran's proxy forces in the region. He was interfering in domestic politics as well.
As Iran's top military strategist and head of the elite Revolutionary Guard Corps Quds Force, Soleimani was the face of the resistance axis, Brodsky said, adding that it was an interesting move by the supreme leader to appoint his deputy, Esmail Qaani, as his successor. Ilan Berman, the senior vice president of the American Foreign Policy Council, said the killing of Soleimani is on par with the Obama administration's killing of bin Laden and the Trump administration targeting of al-Baghdadi.
Soleimani's involvement in regional instability, his direct orchestration and coordination of an array of terror proxies throughout the region is well known, certainly well known to the U.S. government. And the strike, I think, is a very important signal that the Trump administration is prepared to exact consequences on individuals like Soleimani who engage in this sort of behavior.
Iran is likely to respond because the killing of Soleimani was a serious blow to its prestige, Berman said, but in a way that isn't going to precipitate an all-out confrontation because of the strength of the U.S. military and because the regime now knows that the U.S. is serious. U.S. State Department spokeswoman Morgan Ortagus said Trump was faced with a difficult decision, which is America safer with Qasem Soleimani dead or alive? And the president decided that the world was safer with him dead. Steve Hirsch, VOA News, Washington.
Day 1079 of the Trump administration, and tensions in the Middle East are dramatically higher tonight after yesterday's U.S. airstrike that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. The United States is on a heightened state of alert in the region, and there are concerns in Washington about the potential for war with Iran. There is also word tonight from an Iraqi security official to NBC News that a second U.S. airstrike was carried out in Iraq several hours ago. According to the official, the attack took place north of Baghdad and targeted Iranian-backed Shiite militia leaders. There are reports that 6 people were killed. Our own Richard Engel points out that Shiite demonstrations are planned in Baghdad, where it is already Saturday morning right now, and he warns that those events could turn violent. As to the timing of yesterday's airstrike, senior State Department officials tell reporters that Soleimani had been planning what they said were, quote, imminent attacks targeting U.S. diplomats, military personnel, and facilities in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and other parts of the Middle East. A short time ago on Fox News, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the president's action against Iran is part of a plan.
The criticism has been there's no strategy. That's willful blindness. There's been a deep strategy that President Trump laid down now, goodness, almost 3 years ago. We've been delivering against that strategy. And to your point, a central part of that is building out a coalition.
Today from his...
Hey, I tell you what I'm going to give you, snakes. I'm going to give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no-good keister off my property before I pump your guts full of lead.
All right, Johnny, I'm sorry. I'm going.
1, 2, 10. Keep the change, you filthy animal.